Now back to Angel and Eric, the Experience Pros.
Listen up, America.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
What the world needs now
I knew you'd break into song.
is love.
Right? The world also
Sweet love.
needs leadership.
Yes.
And when we think of leaders in the community, right, we think of public officials, right? Maybe our pastor, maybe our boss, people in higher levels. But
Do you
we are
think of me?
all leaders. I do.
Oh my gosh, you just made my whole day.
I did?
You. Thank you.
Oh,
that was easy. I totally think of you.
But you didn't think I would think of you?
Well, it was a risk.
All right. Well, so maybe you already see yourself as a leader. Maybe others around you see you as a leader. But if you don't know this, everybody has the potential to be a leader, and it doesn't just mean the person making the rules, right, or signing the dotted line or speaking in front of crowds, though that does have an impact, right? It's the impact that you have on others. But when we think about leaders, we think in a conversation, you think I'm the one. The leader is the one controlling the conversation.
Right.
You're the one guiding where the direction is going. But according to Marlene Chism in Smart Brief, she said the best way to lead is actually to listen, and that leaders who listen control the conversation. I think that most people would kind of cock their eye and go,
yeah.
How can I control the conversation if I'm not talking?
In order to control, I must form.
Right?
Yeah.
She says listening. Leaders who listen control the conversation.
Well, how am I supposed to argue my point or jump into a conclusion or add value? How am I supposed to place blame or judge somebody across the table if I can't? What?
Right. So here's what Marlene. You kind of have to kind of put your pre-existing judgments on the table for a second, right? When someone shares an opinion or has an idea, anything at all, listening requires you to simply focus on the other person and see things for just a moment from their point of view, right? But most of the time, we think if we're the leader or we're kind of bossy, right, we want to add value. We want to tell them our experience with that. Maybe we want to start a debate or take it personally, jump in with statistics about, things that you've done in the past and to support where you are. But do not do that.
Don't.
Please just zip it.
Stop it.
Right? Breathe. Right? Just have some breath, right? And pay attention. Marlene says leaders who listen decide where to take the conversation. Is this the time to debate, or is this the time to acknowledge? Is this the time to be certain, or a time to be curious?
Isn't there a song about the time?
Right. She's got all songs in here, so she must have been listening to the radio while she did this, or she had her Pandora on, right?
Yeah.
She says leaders who understand how to listen aren't triggered into angry debates. They're not caught off guard by someone else's agenda. They always have clarity. They are always able to navigate the ship because they are listening to where that person is coming from. They're paying attention to that person's point of view. She says they're able to use discernment to guide the conversation. Instead of building barriers, they end up building bridges because they're in control of their emotions. Right? Rather than just reacting to something that somebody said. They're able to monitor their thinking. They have some discipline in how they're going to respond.
Do you remember as a child, if mom got quiet, we were worried.
Really?
Yeah. Because she's just kind of sitting there tapping, going, "What will I do with you next?"
Oh, yeah.
I feel like the same way about a leader, executive at the board table who's just sitting there at the end of the table, going, tapping their fingers.
Yeah, they're thinking. They're kind of probably running through different scenarios through their mind. Where are you coming from? Where do we really want to take this? They're curious, right?
Yeah.
They're open, and leaders decide the outcome of the conversation. So if somebody is using an angry tone, rather than get involved in that, they listen, remain conscious of others, and they recognize their choices.
And at the end, they say, "I choose for the gold team." And it just, I can see this thing
Can
at
you
play.
see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what a powerful position that is to sit there and say, bring me your cases.
Right. But, think about this. Think about the conversations or people that they're floundering, they're wishy-washy, they're all over the board, they're heated and then they're passionate. And so then the other person gets more heated and passionate.
Okay. Yeah, that's me. Totally. So how do I get started on this thing you call listening for leadership?
Marlene Chism, she says, start by making the decision that through your listening, you will control the temperature of the conversation.
Wow.
Right?
Could you imagine life if I got this?
Practice all the do's and don'ts listed above, right? Don't argue the point. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't feel like you always have to add value or take it personally. Don't place the blame. Don't jump in with, your own pieces. Don't judge the other person, but instead stay in control of your emotions. Monitor your thinking. Be curious.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the other person's point of view and stay open.
All right.
So then she says, for example, if you want to practice curiosity, tell me more so I can understand your position, but not with that tone.
No. Again, this is all for the intent of becoming a more effective leader and whatnot. But that sentence you just read there, let's read it again and finish it. Example: if you want to practice curiosity, say, tell me more so I can understand your position.
Then pay attention to your urges.
I found myself doing this yesterday.
Did you? What were your urges? We know. He shares his urges here with us regularly.
Not those kinds of urges. But yesterday, so, there's an interesting dynamic you and I share, right? And we swap roles of leadership based on whatever the nature of the conversation may be. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So I was working on a project.
Okay.
And you would have done the project differently.
Okay.
Yesterday.
Okay.
And I was paying attention to my urges because my first urge is to get defensive and what? But instead, I stopped and said, how would you do it? Right?
Okay.
Which wasn't a deflection, but an honest intent to pay attention to my urges and say, I want to understand your position. It was an intentional put the train back on the track before it jumps.
Right. I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Okay. So she says, realize this. Listening is not necessarily about agreeing. And I think a lot of times we think that we've got to get that other person on our side. Right. We've all got to be on the same, all have to agree. Listening is about acknowledging the emotion so that the other person feels understood. If you truly want to elevate your leadership, she says, get curious about an opposing point of view to see if you hear what characteristics, see what triggers you without getting drawn in.
I am right there.
Oh, well, you should reach out to Marlene.
I'm going to.
She's a consultant and international speaker and author of Stop Workplace Drama.
And No Drama Leadership.
Right? This just might be the place for you.
Yeah.
Right? She says leaders who know how to listen are rare indeed. It takes practice. It takes patience. But in the end, leaders who know how to listen are miles ahead of others, no matter what their education, no matter their IQ, and no matter their position. I did think it was an interesting take on when we talk about leading the conversation, always feeling like we have to be the one that steps in and guides it and takes it to where we want it to go. But a lot of times being a really good leader is understanding the people who are following you.
Right.
And being able to relate to and connect with them and guiding them away from sometimes their anger and their drama. I do think this is probably a really good book. No Drama Leadership. I'm all about that. And you can find her online at stopworkplacedrama.com. Stopworkplacedrama.com.
Yeah. I just think it's such an important element that I am in the midst of making myself better. I'm aggressively trying to take intentional steps. And so the article is timely for me, and I'll bet you it's timely for a lot of people.
All right. Well, there are some experiences will define your company culture for better or for worse.
Experiences will?
Right? It's all about the experience economy. Have you read the book? You don't need to. You just need to listen to the Experience Pros Radio
We'll
Show.
talk more about that upcoming. Folks, don't go anywhere. More positive business talk. You're listening to Angel and Eric, and this is the Experience Pros Radio Network on Denver's Money Talk, 1690 KDMT. There's going to be a high of 76 degrees today.